Good evening, everyone. Evening, ladies and gentlemen. We'll start with apologies for absence. Can you go through the list,
Yes.
Darcy?
So we've got Councillor Alan Wilson, Councillor Ives, Councillor Mrs Mossam, Councillor Mossam, Councillor Widdowson, Councillor Hutchinson and Councillor Panestar.
Fine, thank you very much for that. Item number 2 on the agenda, members' interest. To receive any declaration of interest from members on the business to be transacted. Do we have any declarations of interest? I see none. It's moving on to number 3. We have the minutes of the Environment Committee meeting, which was held on the 8th of May. It here. So if we go through it, page 1731, 1732, 1733, 1734, and 1735. Do I have a proposer?
I'll propose it. Is that Michael?
A seconder. Thank you very much, Nikki, for that. Right. Well, I should have said, are there any questions? I assume not, because otherwise hands would have been raised. So the minutes are accepted as presented. I'll sign all them. Signed really, it's the vice chairman.
Yeah, sorry.
Done. Okay, moving on. Climate change. John has just arrived, John Edwards. So good evening, John.
Apologies, Chair.
So we'll give John a tick. As we haven't got Chris Ives here, Hazel, do you want to just give really a very brief overview, not more than 1,000 words of where we are?
Well, we had a meeting probably a couple of weeks ago now. And we're still chasing store holders, which we've come on to. I've been round and I've delivered, done a presentation to Oldsmore School, and I've delivered the climate change game to all the junior schools. And I've also raised awareness about the art competition. So they all know the details and the year groups, and to bring their artwork here in September, and then we will display it at the Go Green event. So that was quite a mammoth task. I didn't realise because I had to do loads and loads of laminating, but I got there in the end, as Darcy will endorse. But yeah, so we've done everything we can regarding the schools. There is a climate change conference from Bracknell Forest Borough Council next week, one session at the Carith Church, isn't it?
Carith Centre.
And then there's a session at Wellington College, and I know Darcy and I are going to the Friday session, and we hope to raise awareness again about our Go Green event there. Don't think there's anything else that I've missed.
Well, there's the banner, the second banner.
Michael's been very good at putting posters up on various notice boards.
Yes.
We've ordered the banner. I don't know where that is. Darcy, where we are with that?
We are on our way.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just waiting for the.
And then Chris has got the other banner, which Darcy's going to change the date on. So on the A-frame, we'll have both sides of the A-frame advertising the Go Green event.
Well, maybe nearer the date, we'll move one of them further forward
To
make the public aware.
on the A-frame, it's on the corner by the
Wellington,
Wellington.
yes.
Okay. So that should go up next month, shouldn't it?
Okay, that covers then agenda item 4A.
With the schools thing, just thinking because the schools are going to be breaking up, and you said that they've got to, the children have got to bring their artwork by September. What date is it that they've got?
It's the 10th of September.
So are the schools going to put that in their end of term newsletter, or?
Don't know. Is the answer to that. I can chase it.
Yeah.
But I've said that they, on the back of their artwork, they're not there to put their name, their current year group. So they might be in year 5 now, going up to year 6. It only really applies to the year who's going into year 5s. Yeah. The current year group and the school, because the school gets a prize as well.
Right.
All right. So, yeah.
Okay.
And I thought it's a way of encouraging the parents to come along and get involved.
In fact, Chris has also issued the minutes of the last meeting we had with a number of action plans
Yes.
against all of us.
Yes.
The minutes actually reflect very accurately what we discussed and
Previously, yeah.
who's going to do what.
So yeah, everyone's been allotted tasks.
Yes, and we've got another meeting, I think, in August.
Yeah.
Right, okay, then moving on then to 4B. This is the draft policy that reflects the camera that the heat sensor camera is there in the box, and Darcy's about to give a demonstration. Gesticulating wildly. Smile, please. Right. Okay, and that will be presented strategy and policy. So it's the first camera, maybe of two, but there's also, most importantly, a set of instructions on how it's going to be operated. Crowthorne operated through the library. We decided it would be more appropriate for it to be managed by Sandhurst Town Council, with a booking in form, a deposit being paid, and a 7-day loan period. With also what's being recommended is that when it's returned, we should get some feedback on how useful the operator felt it was, in order to demonstrate the investment that we made and how it's benefited from those people, maybe with drafty windows or drafty doors, that will allow them to then recognise that there is a loss of heat and so take appropriate action.
I think Chris is going to sort of draft a form to sort of say, you know, did you find it useful, that sort of thing, and then some general comments. Go on.
Yes.
To go with regard to the policy, I noticed there's a deposit of £20.
Yes.
How does that compare to the cost of the camera? Because I take the first person to pay 20 quid and then walk off with it.
Well, I don't know how much it was because I actually authorised the backs payment for the Amazon purchase, and it was, I think, £175.
It was 179.
£179.
I'm just concerned that £20 doesn't sound an awful lot if the parent can, you know, if there's no guarantee to get your camera back, or the thermal imaging thing back.
I think what has happened, probably this was actually taken. It may well have been a cut and paste from the Crowthorne one.
No, they don't take a deposit.
They don't
To
have
my
a
knowledge,
deposit.
no.
But the library, they'll surely take a deposit or not.
Oh, I'd have to speak to Claire.
Well,
To be honest, I think if somebody's going to want to take
do it.
that and do that, I don't think necessarily they're going to be the type of person to say, oh, I've just got this heat camera, I'm going to do a runner.
We are asking for photo ID on the form.
ID as well, and £20 because I fear if you raise it any
Yeah, I think Nick's raised a good point, but I think the processes we've got, I think, are probably robust.
Can we make sure the photo ID has address on it or some
driving licence.
Yeah.
Driving licence we'd get.
They also have to be a resident of Sandhurst, I think, don't they?
Yeah, and it's there for their personal use and not to pass on.
Okay.
And I think they signed the form. I think they give an undertaking. Let's put it that way in terms of the
Is it
process.
just going to be the
Darcy?
Sorry.
is it just the driving licence, or will they be able to use their edge card?
Oh, it's a £20 deposit.
Yeah.
Yes, £20 deposit.
Yes. Okay. So
The driving licence we would use just because it had the address on.
I think those processes are probably robust enough. Because I think what we don't want to do, if we introduce, say, a £50 charge, I think the risk then is it might act as
Nobody will use it.
No one's going to.
You might think, well, you know, how long will I wait to get the deposit back, etc., etc. I think we should experiment and see, you know, how successful it is.
And how many days was it? That
7 days.
Seven.
But it can be extended, I think, on application.
I think that may be something that then gets reduced, because I think if somebody does it, maybe a 3-4 day period, because if you're going to take it, you're going to be ready to.
Yeah, but it also depends on the weather. It's got to be the right temperature to use it or what
What
conditions.
might consider doing is just sending an email after 5 days to remind them that they're due to bring it back. So they've actually got a prompt in case they forget.
That's a good idea, to make sure that you've got an email.
The email, I think, yes, and or email and phone number, but preferably the email.
Well, the email address was on the form, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Well, so it was a mobile number. Yeah, okay.
Yes.
Mobile, email.
Okay,
Yeah, so
yes.
we have their address for
Okay,
details.
mobile, email. photographic ID. Well, most people will have that anyway because they need that, and they'll be aware of that, I hope, when they actually come to borrow the equipment.
And I mean, on the form, it says date of hire and return. So we'll give them back the copy, which will say the date they've taken it and the date that they're due to bring it back as well. So they've got.
I think in principle, it seems to be a good form. I think we've covered all the eventualities. Obviously, the acid test will be in the initial notes.
Okay, I'm quite happy with the form, but I'm not happy with the policy.
You want to elucidate?
Yeah, but if we pull it right at the beginning, sorry, Darcy.
That's all right.
Sandhurst Town Council has purchased a thermal imaging camera for residents to use to identify ways to improve the heat loss. It should be ways to reduce the heat loss.
Yes, good point. That
Yes.
Yes, reduce the heat loss. The camera can be hired free of charge.
I think it should be their homes as well.
Yes, should be there,
Yeah.
not your.
Yeah, there.
Yeah, residents, their homes, yeah. Their homes.
The heat loss from the home.
Right, no need to go down with it.
When it says free of charge, would it be worth putting in brackets deposit required?
Just to dot
With a
dot
deposit,
across.
with a deposit,
Yeah,
free of charge.
to
with a
dot
deposit.
across.
With a refundable deposit.
The second bullet point says that anyway, so.
Yeah.
Yes, okay then. Oh, yes, okay then.
Right, so it says down the bottom, I think it's 3 from the bottom. Sandhurst Town Council, if you want to pull it up.
I'm not liable.
Will not
Will not
advise on
advise.
how to improve your home's thermal output. Well, again, that don't make sense. I put Sandhurst Town Council cannot advise on how to improve thermal efficiency.
Right. Go again with that, Hazel.
Improve the thermal efficiency of your home.
Thank you, Nick.
Yes.
Do you want me to?
Can you just again? For
Yeah, Sandhurst Town Council cannot advise on how to reduce the thermal efficiency.
Improve
Sorry,
How to
How to
improve. Sorry,
Improve.
improve
thermal efficiency
of your home.
your home.
And the next 2 points, I'll wait till you've,
Yeah.
Go on.
I don't think are relevant. Any improvements
that
may
makes sense.
not improve your EPC rating.
Yeah.
Totally irrelevant. You can spend £10,000, put new windows in, and it won't improve your EPC rating. Only 50% of people in the country have got an EPC on their property anyway. And if you wanted to do another EPC, it's going to cost you £75 to do it. So I don't think we need that final one.
only 75. 830.
Well, you should have asked me, Nick.
I think they're going up because the
They just changed the standards last week.
standards now it's saying now takes 3 times longer to do the
That's right.
survey anyway, so I think
Yeah.
the price will
But
be
you can
going.
only do 3 a day now.
Are we not doing this to protect ourselves?
Yeah,
Because,
that's what I was going to say. It
you know,
covers
I
it just
just
in
wonder
case
if
we get
I'm
it
just
back.
what we don't want is a
Well, it's not
vexatious.
approved it, and you've
I think
we
it should
get
say-
this.
Any improvements may not.
I don't think you need the bottom one.
Does it read well? That's last sentence.
No, I don't think it does. I don't like the
No.
bottom 2.
I'm just worried about someone vexatious coming along and
May
saying,
not
you know,
result in a higher EPC rating or may not impact your EPC rating. I don't know. It's probably
What we're trying to get across is if they come and hire this and then they make the improvements but see no difference, we don't want them to come back to us and say, well, you provided this to us and we've done acted off it.
Provided it for them to see the thermal
Well,
imaging.
you need a caveat to cover that, I suppose.
The
So, Nick,
penultimate bullet point, it doesn't quite make sense.
It's bad English.
It's bad English, yes.
Yeah.
Sandhurst Town Council is not liable for it should,
if no improvement is gained.
No,
So,
for any home improvements you made should no effect be gained or something. It just says you should make.
yeah,
That's
it's bad English.
wrong tense.
Yes.
it's like a,
For any home
trying to think of an
you
example.
undertake,
Is that their own, their own volition?
Just
isn't
get rid
it?
of that.
Yes.
Have you written down, Hazel?
I just said, not required. I would delete them completely.
I personally think we should leave it in. So it's just to safeguard
Well,
our position.
Just worried about having something to cover us. That's my only thing. If we could word it in a, you know, in a
Do
better.
you want to have another, do you want to have a, well, have another,
To improve your homes.
Why don't we have a think about it and email? Because there's lots of different, you know, on the terms and conditions of something. Oh,
wrap it up tonight, otherwise it.
Sandhurst Town Council will not advise on how to improve your home's thermal output and are not liable for any improvements you make. One
Yes. Yeah, okay,
Yeah, okay.
Right.
Yeah.
there's no responsibility or.
So what did we change that previous bullet point to? The Sandhurst Town Council would not advise on how
how to improve your home's
we changed it to something.
Sandhurst Town Council cannot advise on how to improve the thermal efficiency of your home.
home
Yeah.
and are not in.
And
I would say are not responsible. Because then that's the ultimate,
It's
you're,
Vicky, what, rolling the two together?
Yes.
Putting this in mind. So that bit plus and are not responsible.
Yes. And will not be responsible if it can be shown. We're not responsible if it can be shown that there's been that no improvement has been
For
secured.
improvements as a result of using this equipment.
or for any improvements that you make to your own home.
yeah, just for
Any
any
improvements that you
improvements you make to your home. It
Yeah.
doesn't have to say whether any effect is gained or not. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
Because-
one paragraph
you know,
rather than two. One
You
bullet
can,
point.
yeah.
I know what somebody, you know, for an example would be, somebody would do the thermal imaging camera between the cavity wall and the loft space and put some insulation down there and then wonder why they got damp in the loft. Well, because they blocked the eaves and they haven't got
Yeah.
the airflow into the loft.
Okay.
So
So therefore, I think that
That's-
the Sandhurst Town Council
That's our
not
caveat.
responsible for
or any
any
improvements,
improvements you make to your home,
that's fine.
because that's then just put in the owner's.
And the bottom two then I'm just getting rid of.
Getting rid of those and put that one.
Yeah.
Just have one bullet
Yeah.
point.
so what was the final wording on that one?
There you go.
Before we change it.
Sandhurst Town Council cannot advise on how to improve the thermal efficiency of your home and are not responsible for any improvements you make to your home.
Yes.
Yeah,
Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you, everyone.
taking off those two last
Yeah.
ones.
Happy with that?
No, carry on. There's a bit more.
Oh, right. Is it? Oh,
Sorry to be pernickety, but it is my specialist subject.
Yeah,
going up or going down?
up or down, Hazel?
Oh, that's
Well, there's another bit to it, isn't there?
Yeah, there's the instructions on the camera itself.
Yeah, no, this. I did ask
Well
Darcy
done,
earlier,
starting your journey.
where does this arrive from? Because I thought it might be the instructions for the camera, but it can't be because it goes on to say about hints from Wiltshire County Council, Bracknell Forest Borough Council, Energy Savings Trust, etc. So I think this has been, and I say cribbed from Crowthorne that have already got a camera. So I think we need to look at this wording as well. Sorry to be pernickety. But I don't like, if you read the opening sentence, well, the opening two sentences,
what you mean, well done on starting your journey?
yeah, to reduce your fuel consumption. Whatever you do,
What about energy
I don't think
consumption?
I don't think that you can say well done on starting your journey to reduce your
No.
fuel consumption, because they're not, they're just
making them,
investigating
Yeah.
what happens with the camera. It's not.
Monitor your energy consumption.
Your energy
Yeah.
consumption, yes. Because otherwise that's limited
Yes,
to cars.
Monitor your.
Monitor your fuel consumption.
Therefore carbon emissions, which
yeah, that
would be
I agree with that,
applicable.
yeah.
Yeah, it's better.
Oh, no, stuff is not
Making
very,
Yeah, that's
Stuff is too colloquial.
Making stuff.
I think that whole sentence can just come out because it's just
Thank you,
a
Nikki.
bit weird for
But that
me.
if we all,
yeah,
Yeah.
take it all out.
with
I
the
think-
net zero bit as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's just odd.
And
It was-
absolutely that target will you never meet to 20.
So we'd have to own it, John.
Yeah.
I'm not
No.
sure.
Is it for, okay, fine. From Crowthorne's.
I can have a look.
No, it doesn't matter.
an answer right now.
I
But
basically wanted to check it wasn't here. That's all. They're going, that's a rubbish sentence.
I'm sitting here very calm if that's me.
Any other thoughts?
Yeah, well, I don't know
Cameras
that.
take images of home and highlight warm and cold areas or.
If you add insulation to the highlighted areas where appropriate, the heat your boiler generates will stay in your home and will use less fuel. It's a bit
That's-
wishy-washy,
that's-
answer. Sorry?
That sounds right.
Okay, if you're happy with it. I'm not, but. If I tell you what my gas bill and my electricity bill was for the last quarter,
Wouldn't like to know. Go on.
Well, you've got,
nothing.
well, you've
Why?
got solar panels and batteries.
I paid more on standing charges than I did on the bill.
What, because of solar panels?
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I haven't used any electricity. I've used the solar panels, but I still got to pay a standing charge.
I know. It's like having a landline.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's still.
I say we cook with gas.
No, I don't cook with gas boiler. Gas boiler's off.
No, but I cook with
Oh, right.
we cook with gas, so we'll never be
That's
zero.
could be.
So,
We're keeping that in then, that bit.
Yeah,
Yeah,
just take.
Yeah,
Just that bit we've said about that we're taking out and changing the word reduce to monitor, but we're keeping that.
Yeah.
Using one in.
okay.
I think the top tips are okay.
Yeah, I mean, the rest
Yeah.
of it was the beginning that I
Yeah.
did like, that was, yeah.
Scroll down.
No, I'm quite happy with the rest, sorry.
Okay.
Need to take up some of the time.
Reading.
I think it's important that we get it right.
Yeah.
So it is signed off then. You're
Yeah.
happy with it?
Yeah.
Are we voting on it? It's a decision item. Right,
Sorry, Michael.
I'd like,
number 4.
we proposing.
Yes, I'm proposing that we adopt the amendments that have been
Yes.
discussed and proposed and revise the schedule.
I'll say.
Those in favour, you're seconding it. All those in favour of, right, that's unanimous. Thank you very much. The next one then is Hazel, then if wants to comment, to consider the number of stores that have been committed and paid to attend the Go Green event. It's free, isn't it, at the moment?
I don't know, who have you got?
Yeah, so
So it's at Inchcape.
Berkshire Wildlife Trust
Yeah.
and then the
Neighbourhood
neighbourhood
plan.
plan stall.
Okay. I've got 3 others that I'm waiting to confirm, which is St Michael's Church, Howden's Insurance, they do sustainability, and Romans Estate Agents do sustainability. And they came last year.
They came last year, yes.
We just haven't received payment for that.
No, I
I
think
haven't
so.
received anything. I think it's just obviously the back of last year, we had a set date where we said if we don't have X amount of stall holders by this date, we just won't go ahead with it.
Yeah.
So I think that was what we were looking to.
The Bracknell Forest Climate Action almost took over this room last year, didn't they, with all their stuff, and they're going to do a similar. thing
Did the
again
church
this year.
also come, St Michael's Church?
Yeah, I've contacted John Castle. I saw him the other day.
Okay.
So there was a guy last year who did the
It
one
was
on
it, it was
the,
it last year, wasn't it?
on the heating, wasn't there? Air.
Yeah. I don't think he's been contacted.
Okay, and there's also didn't we have someone doing solar panels as well?
Yeah, I've asked Instagroup. Haven't had a response, and I can put them on my chase up list. If not, I've got another company that can do solar panels.
Okay.
St Michael's.
Solar panels,
Oh, I thought-
heat source pumps, or
Both. If we can do both of them.
because they can be linked together.
If we get someone who sells, heat source pumps, and
Yeah.
that'll be.
Particularly as there's a government grant of £7,500 towards it.
Which is
thing
why
on
I did
the
the EPC done.
Houghton.
The thing,
What's the problem?
Hazel on One Love Sandhurst, because I'm sure that a company joined recently that was doing solar panels, and they were local, not necessarily Sandhurst, but it was
Yeah.
on the. I'd have to scroll back through to see, but there was some.
Because I went to
number of guys.
the 8th of November. I bumped into somebody I knew who did solar panels straight away.
Oh, nice.
We've done all that.
Right, yes, I think so.
Like we did last year, of if we haven't got a certain amount by this date, because I think we did that last year and it was reviewed.
Have we agreed the date though? Is it going to be?
No, that's what I'm saying. Are we gonna
Well,
have
we've got a
anything
budget
this year
this
to
year.
say if we don't have, say, 6 stalls by the end of August, we're not gonna go ahead with it, so that we've got it all tied up?
I don't think you would worry about that now, because obviously looking around the room, you've got people that are on holiday
Okay.
and stuff, so I think
Just a
that's.
suggestion, because that's what was done last year, so I'm just.
And you did
Thank
go
you.
ahead.
The difference was that last year it was being run by some councillors. This time it's on behalf of the council.
Okay,
So I think we just go ahead with it.
okay.
Yes. Okay, because there was no budget last year, was there?
There was a budget.
That's why we sort of used the contributions to go towards the banner. This year, we've actually got a proper budget.
Yes.
This allows us to actually
Oh, we would spend all that on because I didn't spend what was allowed on the schools. I didn't spend that. I've only spent on the laminates, and
Yeah, I think aspirationally,
Yeah.
it would be nice to achieve 6. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
But that shouldn't be a finite number.
No,
If
I
it's
didn't mean it like that, I just meant.
if it's 5, it's 5. But we will go ahead.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm
Although-
not in the pump, but I hope the weather's better this year than
Yeah.
it was last
Yeah.
year.
So that is a recommendation. Do I have a seconder for that recommendation that we go ahead? Without conditions, without caveats in terms of the numbers. All those in favour of the recommendation? Unanimous. Thank you very much.
can we ask
It's-
Darcy? Can we ask you to put something on STC website about it?
Yeah, that's absolutely fine. I can put the poster.
Yeah, if you can
Yeah.
put a poster up to start with, and then we can just keep repeating it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Summer of month, that's fine. So I'll have a look at that and I'll let you know
Thank you.
when it can go.
Right. Number 5 on the agenda falls to me. Hanging baskets. Let me start by way of an apology. When we last met, it was proposed that there should be a deadline of the end of May by which the decision should be taken that the 4 parishes should be anointed, for want of a better word, with a floral display.
Yeah.
I secured the agreement for Owlsmore and Little Sandhurst, which I'll come back to in a moment. Outstanding, unfortunately, has been College Town and Central Sandhurst. When originally I put my hand up to manage this as a project, it was on the basis of hanging baskets.
Yeah.
And I thought that that was really the optimum to have in Sandhurst in terms of visual impact that it provides. You know, the floral display, double hanging baskets of our lampposts. It was on that basis that I contacted the lighting officer at Bracknell Forest Council. And I have to say it's unfortunate that in terms of getting decisions or responses to my emails, I found it very, very challenging. Sometimes I get a reply first time, I chase up a second time. Usually there's a much better response. Sometimes even needs a third chase up. And each of these is a 2 to 3 week window. So it gets very elastic, I'm afraid, much more than I would have wished. I thought that the solution was to use our lampposts because they're everywhere in Sandhurst, and we could designate, rather like John had with the Christmas illuminations, designating those ones that would receive the displays. The problem that I had is that I contacted the lighting officer, and he came back to me saying, no, he wouldn't authorise it because the lampposts were not designed to take the extra weight. What he did suggest, which is frankly unrealistic, is that if we designated the lamppost that we wanted replaced, he would then arrange for heavy-duty lampposts to be put in at our costs. Of course. I didn't pursue that. I don't think our budget would have allowed for that, aspirational though it might have been. Undeterred, I then continued because I was very much aware that in Central Sandhurst and College Town, we have 6 of these huge metal posts in Central Sandhurst and 5 in College Town outside Aldi. Those were installed about over 20 years ago. And I do remember, because I was here at the time, the magnificent, huge single floral displays that they had secured to those posts. I thought they were splendid. Bracknell rotated the flowers, obviously, from time to time if they died off, but most importantly, they were watered on a regular basis, and that was critical. Unfortunately, they were removed at a later date. I'm not going to say why. It may have been financial considerations, but I can only speculate. I found it a great shame, but the posts have remained. I therefore approached highways because I believe that those posts ultimately have a highways ownership. because they're on a footpath, they're adjacent to the main road, to Yorktown Road. I asked if they would allow double hanging baskets to be secured to those posts. The answer came back no, because after 20 years, the belief was there will be corrosion, even though they have got plastic caps on top to prevent water ingress. The difficulty, of course, is that if we were to disprove the theory of corrosion, we'd have to expend a considerable sum of money getting a metallurgical examination, probably sending down a camera inside, and each of the 11 would have to be surveyed individually. Again, it would be a question of cost. So I'm afraid that the decision was taken that this would not be allowed, even though what they did say is that, again, repeating what the lighting officer said, if we wanted, they could replace them with a new metal post, which would be, surprise, surprise, at our cost. So the answer was no again. I then moved on to the alternative, which is the one that Crowthorne have got, which you'll have seen, the flower towers. And I have to say, I was quite impressed when I went past Crowthorne the other day. They had rejuvenated all the plants, taken out the old ones and put in fresh ones, and have been watered. So this is what I'm looking at. Where it is challenging is that there are three parts to this, and Alsmore is a very good example where to secure the agreement that the flower tower could be installed in Alsmore, I needed the agreement of the manager of Alsmore Community Centre, not because they own the land, but because it's their facility and we need their agreement. I also need the agreement of Highways to ensure that the sight lines were not affected in terms of cars coming out from sort of Cambridge Road, if they were going to be positioned there. Highways Department had also said yes. Stage 3 is the land register, where I have to contact a person called Lee Clark, who controls the land register documentation. He has come back to me and said that Bracknell own the land. Consequently, there are 3 ticks. So I could go ahead with Alsmore. The same situation has arisen with Little Sandhurst. The problem is that I didn't think it was fair or reasonable to actually have flower towers in 2 locations, as opposed to 2 extra ones for College Town and 2 extra ones for Central Sandhurst. So what it amounts to is that the budget of £5,000 that we set aside will go back into reserves. And I will, in the early part of next year, put in an application to our committee for a budget to be approved for flower towers to be installed, if necessary, more than 6, maybe 7 or 8. But that's the plan, that we will have to go ahead on that basis, because hanging baskets from lampposts or the metal posts is unfortunately a no-no. So it has not been for lack of effort. It has not been for want of trying. If anyone else thinks that they can take over the file and that is the file on it. I had no idea when I took it on just how much work would be generated. Nick's nodding his head because as a borough councillor, as I have been, I do know sometimes that it's a David and Goliath situation. Yeah. But we will get there in the end. I'm just sorry that in some ways, yes, I have failed, but it has not been for lack of effort. So bear with me.
You haven't. You've done the groundwork.
Yes.
Nick,
Very frustrating.
Let's come to let's figure out the conclusion. That's fine.
Sorry, John.
No, you haven't failed. It's just
Done the groundwork for next year.
Yeah.
I would have liked to have had good news.
Well, Michael, I'd like to thank you for your efforts, because I have to say you have taken it forward, and I think we are probably in a position where next year we can do something. So, and we can probably start in March.
It's March or September, the window.
Or whenever the window starts, we can be ready for when that window starts, rather than we were getting later and later and later this year.
Yes.
So it wouldn't have been.
And that's why I said about the May cover.
But we had also decided, you see, that we wouldn't run it through the winter period.
Yes.
No, and I must say with Crowthorne, when I look at this, they look rather shabby.
Yeah.
They've contracted with Window Box Company in Slough to do it for the whole year round. I don't think that really you can get plants really that prosper in the winter.
So just a question on that. So if we're not doing it in the winter, do they leave the?
Yeah, they leave them in situ.
They leave the stands there, so we just remove all the plants, at the end of the season, and leave it empty.
I don't know if they do. Well, yes, I'd have to find that out, Nick, because Crowthorne's different because they've got a 12-month contract.
Yes, so I'm
But
saying,
also
if you've only got a 6-month contract, do they take it away after 6 months?
The plants or the towers?
The
Towers.
towers.
I believe they'll say in situ because the cost involved is an installation cost. It's a one-off cost for the installation with an additional expenditure for doing the floral display. So once we've incurred the, I think, £550,
Yeah.
then it purely becomes the planting element of it, which I think is £160 for 6 months.
So at the end of the 6 months, they would then clear the plants and leave them dormant.
They'd probably leave the
Leave the
soil.
towers
The soil,
dormant until the planting season next year.
they'll just end up looking like glorified ashtrays.
And they'll probably
Well-
end up as glorified ashes.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
sadly.
I think that's a question that I will ask of them as to whether they, because I think it's desirable that they remove the plants, because otherwise in the winter, they can look really, really scruffy.
Is there nothing, is there no plants that can
Yeah,
get
yeah, I was just going to say,
snowdrops or something?
would be,
There are lots of winter things you can put in them.
yeah.
We would double the cost.
Well, yes.
Yes, it would double the cost.
Well, no, it wouldn't, sorry, no, it wouldn't double the cost because we've already incurred the cost of the unit, the cost that would, the increase in cost, I can tell you what it would be, I think from recollection, it's £160 per flower tower. Because in the winter, of course, it would only be from
Not so much.
There's
October.
not so much watering in that, is there? Yeah.
February.
So what you're saying is that in the first year we do this, there will be an initial cost of putting in all the towers
£650 per tower.
per tower.
And then the watering, feeding, spray cleaning, pest and disease control, picking over and free replacement of any plants dying prematurely or outgrowing their position in any display, £194.
Per town.
So we could, so if there were 6, then obviously there'd have to be we'd have to decide, I think, whether we would want to have them during the winter period as well, which I hadn't considered.
Fine.
So it's £600. So it's
650 for a
It's-
tower.
the tower unit itself
costs.
is £650 for each.
That's to
The
install
ongoing-
it, and then 190
Then £194
Per tower.
per tower for the plants.
It's nearly 800, isn't it?
194.
Yes, it is, but it's a one-off.
Is that for 6 months then, not a year?
It's just for 6 months.
What's the difference for a year?
It would be another £194. So you've got the tower at £650. Okay, that's £650. In March to September, plus £194. October to February will be another £194.
Yeah, I think, can I just make a proposal that we just go for the, well, we don't have to make a proposal yet, do we? Because it's not here. But when we do it, I think we should just go for the whole year. I can't want to have a fact.
I completely agree with you. If you're doing it, otherwise you're going to get residents that are going to say, well, what's the point? We've paid for this and there's nothing in it.
Yeah.
Then if you're doing it, you've just either got
I will create, obviously, the £5,000 that was the budget that we agreed was on the basis with the company that I'd selected, that they were actually going to give that pricing was based on the 2024 pricing.
Yeah, well, next.
I did a deal with them. There will be a rise, but I don't know what it will be. I need to find out what their 2026 pricing structure will be and then work out the 6 flower towers and the £194 or plus for the March to September, and then the £194 or plus whatever from October
The
to
options.
February.
So discuss the options.
So the 650 doesn't include planting.
No,
no.
Right, it's just having
the
the
650 is a one-off installation cost of this.
You'll need more money than £5,000.
I agree. Yes, absolutely. But I can't tell you what that money will be until I know what the 2026 pricing structure will be.
Thereafter, we're talking about £400 per tower
tower.
for every 12 months.
yes.
Yeah.
So that would be if you had 8 towers, 2 per ward.
And we're talking about 6 at the moment.
Okay.
So the budget currently is 5,000, which is now going back into general reserves. I'm not, Nick, I'm not going to speculate whether it should be 8,000 because we're talking about a known unknown of what the pricing will be for 2026. Let me come back to you at the next environment meeting. John?
Can I make a suggestion that we also get a quote for replacing the flower poles so we can, the hanging basket poles?
So taking
Getting a quote for replacing the hanging basket poles.
hanging basket, the poles.
Yes.
Get
Yeah.
a quote for that.
But
Removing them.
replacing the poles, the existing poles, the ones that are corroded.
I can, they have, highways have said that if we want, they will choose a contractor to provide that costing. Okay, I can do.
Get the cost in.
Because it might be cheaper than a tower.
Yeah.
Really won't, but it
But we
might,
were talking about 11. I don't think we could just do every other one. I think if we're going to do it, we've got to do the 6 in Central Sandhurst and the 5 in College Town.
Yeah.
11.
But it might be cheaper to replace the poles than it is to
buy
the
towers.
Look, I will find out. It was offered in the way that what's his name? In the way that Osmond Falero offered to replace the lab standards.
So if he gets us a quote for them, then we know what we're looking at. Because if he says it's going to be 50k, then we know the answer is no.
Yes.
if it's 7, you know,
If he says it's 7, then,
I-
then it might be worth looking at.
All right, I will ask the question. I suspect there's probably quite a lot of work involved because they're sunk in concrete, and they probably are. I don't know how deeply, but obviously,
And,
we all know how substantial these posts are.
and you've got to take out the pavement round it and put it back on that, reinstate it, all that sort of stuff. So
Yeah.
It's I think structurally it's going to be a big job.
Councillors are going to be.
John's asked the question. I will find out and I'll report back on it, but I'm not optimistic.
it'll just be another bit of paper in your huge file.
And is,
I've ordered a wheelbarrow on Amazon.
I'm just thinking, because if the planting of these is the 194 for March to September and the same for October to February, there's going to be a lot less work involved in the watering and maintenance care between October and February than there is going to be.
If you've raised a good
March
point,
and
because
September, so-
because the £194 was based on that particular window, the summer window.
Right.
Now, then what we don't know, because I didn't ask the question, because we hadn't discussed it, because we felt that probably the best was actually to, in terms of the budget was available, that we would actually do this in inverted commas, the summer window. It may be there'll be less in the winter window,
Yeah.
because you said there's also because they may use a different type of plant,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah, not like
more
what
different.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, let me.
To see the cost difference to what that would be.
February. Next, at the next environment meeting, I'll come back to you with those answers.
No
But,
proposal then or anything for that. I don't need to, we're not making a decision on that at all.
no,
We're not. I don't need to-
Nick,
no decision to be made.
Fine, perfect.
it's work in
We'll ask the silly
progress.
questions first.
Okay, right. So moving on. Remembrance service, that's item agenda number 6, to offer the opportunity for any councillor to join the working group. Do we know who is on?
I do, yes, I've got it here. So
Oh, right.
currently, sorry, let me.
Were you on it, Nick, or not? No, you weren't.
Sorry, hold on. I've currently got Jean, Palm, Mike Butcher and John on there currently. So we may be looking at 1 or 2 others to go on if they wish to.
Do what?
Who is it? Do what?
So
You'd like
it's
to be
the
on Nick?
Remembrance Working Group. So what, there, God.
So we've got Nick.
Go on.
Nick, are you putting your hand up?
Can I? No, I'm not.
Why don't you ask a
Thank
question?
you for the work.
We send
The
an email out to all
Remembrance
councillors.
Working Group, there's meetings, isn't there? And then you discuss
Yeah, but it's very easy.
outline.
It's basically just, should we do the same as last year? Yes.
Chairs out.
So it's mainly liaising with the RMA, I think.
Yeah, so you will come in and we meet with the RMA to discuss plans for the event and if there'll be changes or if
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
anything that wants to.
Who's on that? And over Jean, Mike Butcher and
John,
I don't know. Well, Palmer,
just
I
don't want
wonder.
to saturate it. So
It is.
just
Happy to go on.
So I think, look,
Yes, I'm happy.
John, are you still happy to be on?
Can I suggest we just send a council-wide email to all councillors saying,
I thought it was the thing that it was done. I remember asking before, and it was said that it was dealt with from environment, and that's why it didn't go out to
oh, okay.
all councillors.
I think really when I
That-
look
Well,
around,
but in that case, send it out to all the environment members. We've got at least 5 missing tonight.
okay, yeah, because
Jean's not on environment.
Maybe you see that Diana Wilson would like to be on.
But that's the point. She's not going to be on it anymore.
No.
So we need to replace her at least.
Why isn't she?
Mike Butcher's
I'll
not
do
in
that.
environment, is he?
Yes, he is. Yes.
What?
No, he's not.
Oh, who's not going to be on?
Oh, sir.
Oh, June.
Yeah.
You should put more of this up.
Lives in the Isle of Man now.
She's not
Oh.
in the environment, so
She's not in Sandhurst.
She's not in schools anymore.
really.
Is she resigning?
She's
No, she's only been 6 months.
wow.
Oh, okay.
So actually, we've only got Palmer and John on the group.
Well, I'm putting myself forward.
Yes, I'm putting myself
Yeah.
All right,
forward.
well, right, in that case then.
So we're not
So-
going an email now, or what we.
How many do you need? That'd be-
Yeah, we're only looking at one or two more, to be honest, because we just don't want to oversaturate it.
Nikki, Janice, myself, 4.
Okay.
And you said,
It's just one meeting,
Yeah,
is it?
Yeah.
Look, I think for the sake of, let's just agree this time, that we've got 4 people who will be contributing positively. I think we go ahead on that basis.
Mhm.
You know, rather than, we can send an email out and then, people say, oh yeah, I didn't, it was in my junk box, I didn't see it, and et cetera, et cetera. We've got 4 people, 4 good people. Right, so in that case, then that's a decision. So I'm proposing that the committee for the Remembrance Service should consist of John Edwards, Nikki Coppins, Janice D'Souza, Michael Brossard. Do I have a second? All those in favour? Right, good, thank you for that. Right, outside bodies reports. A, to receive reports from any representative on outside bodies. Do you have anyone here who's been?
I've got an invitation. Yeah, I've got an invitation to attend a Blackwater Valley Countryside Trust meeting, and I think it's November. A long time away, but that's it. It's me.
Okay. Anyone else? Nick? No.
No, nothing.
Okay. No. Right. Okay, then. That's just so.
Oh, you said about removing the clean team from
Yeah, I'm just going down to the annex.
Yeah, that's number B. To discuss and consider the removal of the clean team from the outside body. This was a strange one. It's difficult to remember how it came about. It's one of those situations where someone said, well, why was it created? No one can really remember. But it seems to be basically, I think it was Wendy, because there were 2 people, if you remember, Wendy and Heather, I think it was, and they divided their responsibilities geographically. I think Wendy went up to Rackstraw, and then Heather did the rest of it. Heather then, I think for reasons of ill health or whatever, withdrew, and Wendy did her bit, and probably more. But then, as we know, Wendy's unfortunately suffered some ill health and is no longer doing it. So
She's not retired.
Yeah.
It's ill health.
Yes,
She's still employed by
She's
STC
retired.
though, still.
Sorry?
She's still
Still
employed by
employed.
STC, yeah, she hasn't.
oh, right, so-
Still in employment.
Sick.
She's offset.
okay, right.
Sorry, just.
Okay, oh, yes. So in that case, then I think ultimately we'll take it off. But what I am impressed by, and I went up to Alsmore the other day, is what a good job. There are the couple who go around Alsmore who actually get the purple bags or the pink bags that the borough provide. And I've seen them actually. There was one on Yorktown Road the other day.
there's
There's a
lot-
lady,
There's
a
lots.
lady with fair hair who goes
Trish.
around a lot.
Trish
Trish
Wrigley,
yes.
yeah. I nominated her and she got a community award last year. She's lovely.
Yes, I have seen her
So
quite a bit.
I think the community are, and we will obviously our litter picking that we do twice a year is not to. I think it's done for the benefit of the community. But
The other day, literally, I was coming through the traffic lights, and there was a dad with his 2 kids, younger kids, and they were litter picking. It was just
Oh,
it's
really?
really nice
Yeah,
to see.
that's good.
People care about their
I think we'll just leave this as an ad hoc arrangement up to the individual residents if they want the purple bags. And Janice, have you got the purple bags or no? There's someone else who actually got hold of them. They contact the borough.
Yes,
Yeah,
and they give you they deliver and
they deliver the list of.
Oh, do you mean the big, not the big blue one?
no,
No,
the
these are-
pink ones.
Oh, no,
I call them. I think
They
they
could have gone for
magenta.
You see, yes, you see.
Are
pink.
Are we able
To the
to
battle
ask
bus.
the borough council to have some here, so that
Yeah.
would be quite nice to advertise to say
You can
that if residents
Yeah.
want to, they can come
and get
borrow
a
the
bag.
litter pickers that we've got here and then take a bag.
So we have had a conversation about this. I can't remember what it was in. They have contacted us to have bags and litter pickers here
Mm.
on a Tuesday. They've asked for 2 days a week for people to be able to come in and pick up litter picking equipment. But I mean, we can definitely Oh,
So I just think if we've got
Yeah.
some bags,
I'd encourage.
have a look. I'll have a look into that and get some more
Mm.
info. if
Right.
That's all right with all
If
of
we're
them.
going to distribute these, do we have to do like a risk assessment and hand out high vises? Being serious.
I think the borough manager, if I have a slight
the borough don't, they literally just, there you go.
Do they?
Yes.
Yeah.
I know, because they delivered
You-
some to
You
me.
litter pick at your own risk.
Yeah.
I was going to say, going back to the
Yeah.
actual agenda item, can I just propose that we remove the clean team from the outside bodies statement?
Yes.
Because,
I can second it.
those in favour, yes. Okay.
because it seems no point if we haven't really got a clean team anymore.
I do slightly worry about actually having a free-for-all situation with these purple bags or these pink bags, if there were residents who will actually then use them for domestic rubbish, potentially. Might they?
They could make the effort to come down and
They're
get a
coming,
bag.
a bit like the thermal camera, if you've got somebody that is considerate enough to come down to get the bags, get the litter pickers.
I wonder how we will communicate this then to the residents. It's
We can put it on our website, can't we? One we've got, and say,
We
we love Sandhurst.
Yeah,
The
to
social
say
media.
that, you know, these, you can get them from borough, but actually now we hold a stock at Sandhurst
I
Town
think we
Council.
should get the agreement of the borough first.
Yeah.
Because they may be controlling it. They may say, well, hold on a moment, we've got enough. There are 5 people already on the quote.
I think that they would say if there's more people willing to do the litter picking, then they're not gonna, they're not.
Need to get some more info, come back and then we can discuss.
But you
Next
see, the problem
meeting,
with these
so
bags,
production
these bags are not,
without info.
the problem is these bags are not our property. So I do think we need the agreement of the owner of the bags to agree.
Well, that's
So
the
that-
point. We're asking Darcy to go to the borough and saying, will you supply us with bags and litter pickers?
Hmm.
So that's all we're, the proposal is that we ask the borough
Yeah.
if we can act as a remote station
Yes.
Yes.
for,
Yeah.
for the litter
Oh,
picker.
yeah, to police the allocation of them.
Yes.
Okay, then. But I basically, I agree with that. That, yes,
I'm proposing it.
I'll second that.
and all those in favour of the recommendation. Right, thank you very much. Right, moving on. Footpaths.
Oh.
A, to receive feedback on path conditions and actions taken from footpath monitor. Janice, your secretary, tell us about your secretary.
Yes, well, I 3 hours this took me. I went to the railway path, started at the far end and I got about halfway. And quite honestly, as I was getting more down towards Swan Lane, it needs industrial equipment. My secretary's, yes, it's so full of stuff. I mean, I did so many brambles and on one side, somebody had actually cut the laurel on one side, which was quite nice, but the brambles are just a nightmare. And I got down so far, but then it's all spreading out onto the path.
Swan Lane going how far? Past the bungalows on the left-hand side?
But it's the path that runs down by the railway,
Yes. Oh, sorry. Yes.
the tarmac
From
path.
Swan Lane through to the other side of the station.
Yes.
It's terrible one end, and I just lost the will in the end.
What I'll
It's
do
such
then, I
hard
think,
work.
I'll take some photographs because I think if it needs an industrial type
Well, I think
activity,
so, the
it's
end part.
it becomes a borough responsibility for them
Yeah.
to
You
come
just
down with their
take,
chain.
just take a picture thing and you can just put it
Yeah,
and fix
okay.
my street, whatever. I've,
Yeah.
Well, that's in fact that Janice, that particular one, that footpath which you're assigned to, is along the railway line, FP2.
Yes. Well,
Yes,
it's that one, whatever it's called.
it is.
can't remember.
It's described as being global. Let's see which one you've been assigned.
No, I haven't been assigned any.
I'll look at that, Janice, because it's it's technically it's a
really
combination of
hard
Little Sandhurst and Central Sandhurst.
Yeah, and then trying to lob it over the wire and the barbed wire, it wasn't easy.
Well, no, because All right, let me take photographs and
Yeah.
then send them on.
And
to
the other parts I haven't got to yet, but they're probably easier.
I did mine, today.
And how was
Because
it?
and they're, Scotland Hill one.
You've got Scotland Hill.
Well, it's not too bad, but the other one going through to Goffs Meadow. Took some pictures and there's a metal spike that's sticking
But
out.
when
So
I-
I've reported that today. So
When you're talking about Scotland Hill, you're talking about the footpath, aren't you? Leading
Yeah,
up?
yeah.
Yes. That the problem that I've had in the past has been actually with the quantity of leaves.
yeah, I mean it was
What's it like?
fine. It's
fine.
So too bad.
Because on the last occasion, I went along with one of these cordless leaf blowers.
Is there anybody who's
then if you do that, you either pick up or it's the
blow
pointless
them to the
exercise.
Well, they biodegrade.
Yeah,
inside
yeah.
time.
Yeah.
Are we responsible? You know, when you go down towards the balancing pond on that road, there is a path on the left on the other side. It's impassable one end. Maybe that's the guys here who do that. I don't.
Whereabouts you, I'm trying to.
You know where the gate is?
Which
Just right
gate?
here.
By the
not
cafe
that
gate.
gate, the other gate going down to down to the balancing
Yeah.
pond. Just to the left of that gate, there's
Yeah.
a path that runs parallel with the water.
And there's like a wooden sort of fence before you go in the foresty bit. Is that what you
Yes,
mean?
it's very nettly there.
Yeah, my
really
understanding
neat.
was they were leaving that for
Is it bird nesting?
wildlife, bird nesting and insects.
So
That was
not
my
a
under.
path anymore then.
I'll check again, but it was just a.
It sounds like a ground stop activity.
It is a
doesn't
ground
it,
stop
Ben?
activity, so I'm
Yes.
also ready to pass it on and see what can be done.
Okay, yeah.
My understanding was it was a wildlife preservation
Okay.
as to why it's been there
Sure.
to build up, but I'll check that. Check it.
Unless they're going to move the cows that side and the cows will sort it.
Right, in that case then, we move on to 8 footpath B to receive an update on Sandhurst footpath 29, which links Peterhouse Close and Merton Close. I did a site visit there last Saturday to actually understand what the issues were. And I have to say, or in fact, could we have the first one? Go back one. Otherwise, you're looking at my broom. That's the footpath. It is literally about 20 yards long. It just links 2 little cul-de-sacs. There's no vegetation because there's a brick wall on one side. There's a grassed area on the other side, which I suspect is probably cut by Bracknell Forest Council or the contractors. All that I saw were just little twigs and branches and such like. There's a new sign that's been put up there, and there's also, which you can't really see on there, there's the sign from the borough notifying that it is basically, there's a 42-day consultation period, which will then be added to the Bracknell Forest definitive map and statement of public rights of way. So that is now a public right of way officially. What we have to decide is whether anyone wants to go along there from time to time with a broom or just leave it to the residents.
Just leave it.
I just leave it. Frankly, looking at it, or could we have the next photo? So
Very
you can
tidy.
see
I know the path.
you can see that's what I've done with the broom, and that really is all that was needed. I think that it's up to the residents to do it if they want to. So
You're going to look quite odd if you start sweeping.
So did you say that? Did you say
There's a student there.
order.
Did you say that post there that says public footpath? Did you say they're still doing consultation? Because
No. The consultation has finished.
Right. Because that's now got public footpath.
Yes, it has.
Yeah.
No. There was. I think all that's happened. It hasn't been taken down because the consultation was for 42 days, and that
Right.
that ended.
Sign for the consultation hasn't been
Still up.
taken up, but they put up a poll saying public footpath.
Yes.
Right. Got it.
Yes, they have, because there we are, that's it. Although the arrow really should be pointing.
They're pointing the wrong way.
I know. Looks like it's going right.
You're right about that, I think it's
Pointing completely the wrong direction.
right, so I will take it upon myself to ask the
Let's do
plan to
it.
reposition this. I might do it myself, but I think
Yes.
health and safety.
Go with something heavy and just give it a bash.
So anyway, so we're not going to ask anyone to adopt it. I don't think it's necessary.
No.
I think, frankly, if it's been like this for many, many years, and it's now been designated officially as a public right of way, we just leave it to leave, because it's not like, for instance, as Janice has said, for instance, with Swan Lane, and the brambles and things like that. There are no brambles there. There are no weeds. It's it seems to be quite a tidy area. So we'll just leave it that it's there. Right. Okay then.
Is that proposed for representative flat?
So is that a
Please,
that's that's a decision?
yeah, so I need that vote.
Yes, indeed. Right. Notice boards. Notice boards.
Wait, well, I need
Oh,
to
sorry.
second your proposal that we're not adding it to the list.
Yeah,
Vote,
yes.
if that's all right, please.
I'm proposing that we should not add it to the definitive list of footpaths. Do I have a seconder for that recommendation?
Seconded it.
Those in favour of the recommendation?
Thank
That's
you.
carried. That's unanimously. Thank you for that. Notice boards. I went round last weekend and put up the Summer of Fun flyers and also the Neighbourhood Plan flyers. No, sorry, the green
Green.
top flyers. The only observations I'd made is that I found it incredibly difficult to put in the drawing pins. I almost think these boards are made of mahogany. It was a struggle. What I did notice, and I found it unacceptable, is that one that's been stamped Sandhurst Town Council Music in the Park has got drawing pins. It's also got 3 staples. Someone is putting these flyers up with a staple gun.
Yeah.
And it's you can't remove them.
That's because you can't put the drawing pins in.
I use the hammer.
I
That's Mark Blossom who gave me the idea that because the difficulty that you have, you put the hammer on the ground, you put the drawing pin in, one drawing pin in, you then lean down to pick up the hammer. The drawing
And the
pin
drawing
falls out.
comes out. Yes, I
And then
know.
put the drawing pin in again. You can see how falls out your head. So you can persevere, and in the end, you give it a good bash. But it's unfortunately the nicest boards, I have to say, the ones outside there in the foyer, because they seem to be a sort of chipboard. But we are where we are. We've got the hardness of the board. So, but the staples I do find very disappointing. That 5 people say it's the line of least resistance to then put this 1, 2, 3.
So is it who goes and puts the posters up then? So do people come in here and ask
Get the
permission to put, and then it gets
Yeah.
stamped, and then they go and do it?
Yes.
Yes.
And then I put up stuff Michael kindly offered because I was on my own to do
Yes.
the Summer of Fun. But then it's myself that I'm in the planning list that goes up and then any other stuff is
And
on.
also, by the same token, we should remove any that are not approved.
Right.
And
Yeah,
also-
Yeah,
I've done that.
I've done that.
I
There was
was
a few.
At the beginning of June, when I did the schools, I more or less went, well, as part of it, I thought, I'm this close, I might as well go around and do all the notice boards. And I took 15 posters off
No, really?
that were either out of date or that would got water
some
damage,
got very scruffy.
Or-
Yes, yes,
that weren't stamped.
yes.
So I think that the main problem is that they're not being stamped. That,
So I said to Ange, because I did my boards whenever there was like a business advertising, and I said, oh, is there a thing? Do I tell you this company, and do you email on behalf of the council, or do I email? And she just said no, it's just you just
Okay.
take them off and that's it. So
Yeah.
I wasn't sure then whether that would be a fighting a constant battle, or whether you actually say to people,
Well, Nicky's down as number 8, which is the library, outside the library. What I'm disappointed by, and I spoke to Darcy about this, is that someone has actually been removing an awful lot of the notices that have been put up. And I suspect that it might be someone in Broadway House.
So there is a particular person in Broadway House who has a penchant for removing.
He's a sort of fetish, hasn't he, about removing?
Yes, he's been
That's
doing it. Is it Colin is his name or something? I can't remember his name.
So it was funny because when I went and checked, and then I came to meet a resident for coffee at Palms, and whilst I was just waiting for him, I just looked at the notice board, and there was a an unstamped something. So I thought, oh, I don't know if it's Palms notice board, but I just saw it. I thought I'll take it off. That's fine. And I thought, God, there's a lot more things on this notice board than there is on my notice boards. So I was just,
There is one person from Broadway House who lives in Broadway House,
Yeah.
regularly uses the bus stop
Yes.
and
Yeah.
regularly cleans the notice board, or, takes things off the notice board when he's at the bus stop.
Oh, okay, I think I know who you mean.
Because
Yeah,
I
there
was
was-
asking-
It was no consistency that each notice board has.
Oh, yeah.
Didn't you say that? He also takes
Like
the
it's
planning.
very strange.
Yeah, we've had a historical issue where I'll go and put the planning list up on a Tuesday, I'll go back on the Wednesday and it's gone.
Mm.
And then it's
Yeah,
just a
there was
case of
no-
like me walking there every day to put the same up, and that's,
Well,
there's no explanation as to
what I
you
might
know,
do is just put up a notice, actually asking people not to remove the flyers.
I might just remove
So
that as well then.
Or
Yeah, Bill.
we electrify the board.
Yes.
excuse me, that's my board. I don't want to get electrocuted.
You can wear gloves though, Nikki.
I'll go wearing my wellies. That's fine.
No, it's Nick's right. It's a bane of our lives because it's just so frustrating that we're doing this for the community. And that particular notice board is very, very popular.
Yes.
It's bang in the centre of central Sandhurst. It's by the bus stop. It's
Yeah.
by the library.
Yes.
It's probably the most read notice board of all
Yeah,
time.
the Osmore one by Osmore Shops is a popular one as well.
Is it? Yeah.
Well, you've got two at Alfmore, haven't we?
We've got one in the park,
Yes.
we've got one in Harvard Road.
Yeah.
We've got,
That's right. Yes. And there's also Magdalene Way, which I do,
no, Harvard Road.
which is what is at the top.
Yeah.
Yes, I
Yeah.
do that.
And there's a little one up at that little cave close or a bit.
Yeah, there's 12 in total, I think.
Yeah.
11 or 12.
Oh, well, right, okay then. Well, we seem to have, right, so notice boards is information only. Press and publicity? No, I don't think. Date of next meeting is going to be the 11th of September. So,
Press and publicity, do you need to include the green?
it's additional.
Yeah, if we just put that on,
What are we talking about? The green event?
yeah.
Website and
Yes,
I know.
yes.
Go green event needs to
Then
be
as
on.
soon as you get the banners, they can go up, please.
Lovely.
Yeah, because we want the public to turn up. Yeah, I thought there was a reasonable attendance by the public last time.
Yeah, there was, and I think it would be better if like the weather was a bit against
Yeah.
us, isn't it? So
If there's anything like this, people will be sitting in their air-conditioned cars. So,
And of course, if we can ask councillors to turn up as well, all the better, all the green events.
Well,
Green
I don't
dresses,
think,
is it?
oh, yes.
please, I
don't
close the
think-
meeting
yeah,
at
is it?
18:37.
No,
If we can see
Yeah, yeah.
We'll let you.
discontinue.
I'm sorry. I'd like to have been. here,
2037.
It sounds very nice.
Right,
Yes.
we get